Okay. Hi, class. So this is going to be our first recording, and this is going to be for Chapter 1. I'll do a recording for each chapter, and after each chapter, I'll assign homework. All the homework will be at the end of the chapter. So after each section, there's a group of work that you can work on individually if you would like, if you need extra help. But the actual homework that you'll turn in will be at the end of the chapters, and I'll assign that at the end of this video, and I will also post it on Blackboard, okay? So Chapter 1 is just a review of basic math. We're just going to go through it really quick. The homework should be very easy, but just to kind of remind everybody what we'll be doing, okay? So the first thing in section 1-1, they're talking about writing numbers, rounding numbers, and adding whole numbers, okay? So let's just look at some basic numbers here. So if we have the number 46, what that means is 40 plus 6, right? So that's 40 tens and 6 ones, which would equal 46, okay? What about 305? 305 would be 300 plus 5. So that's going to be 3 hundreds, 0 tens, and 5 ones, which would equal 305. Okay? So what about 762? So it's going to be plus, what is that going to equal? That's going to be 700 plus 60 plus 2. Or that would be 700s plus 6 tens plus 2 ones. Okay? So that's 762. So also remember place values. If you had something like 1,622, that 2 there is going to be ones. That is tens. That is hundreds. And that is thousands. But what if you had something like 16.235? Okay, so you have a point here. We know that that's ones and that's tens. But what about this 2.235? Anytime you have a number after point, that's going to be tenths, T-N-T-H-S. That's going to be hundredths, again, T-H-S, and that's going to be thousandths. And so that T-H-S kind of gives you that, okay? Now, what about rounding whole numbers? Now, remember, it depends on what you're rounding to. So if you had a number like this, 247,563. Well, what if we wanted to round it to the nearest 100,000? Okay, to the nearest 100,000. All right, so first you got to determine the place to the number being rounded and mark a little caret to it, okay? So to the nearest 100,000, this is 100,000 right here. So we put a little caret there because we're going to look at this number to the right of it, okay? So if that number to the right of it is 4 or 3, 2, 1, or 0, you do not round. If that number is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you round. So we're looking at that number. It's a 4, so we do not round. So it's going to be 200,000. And the reason it's going to be 200,000 is because we're rounding it to the nearest 100,000. Okay? But if the decimal would have been a 5, then we would have rounded it. So let's look at another number. What if we had 247,563, and we want to round it to the nearest 10,000. 10,000. To the nearest 10,000 would be right here. So we look at this number, 7. Well, 7 is larger. So if we're going to round it to the nearest 10,000, it's going to be 250,000. Okay? and that's just a reminder about rounding numbers. Let's talk about adding whole numbers just real quick, okay? So to help avoid errors in rounding whole numbers, you put the numbers with the most digits on top with the fewer digits on bottom. So if you had a number like this to add 1,473 plus 88 plus 536 plus 875. Okay, so now we're going to put the numbers in order, largest to smallest. So that would be 1,473. We're going to skip that one. 536 plus 875 plus 88 last. Put your addition there, and then we're going to add. So 3, 6, 5, and 8 is going to be 22. Carrier 2. That's going to be 27. Carrier 2. And that's going to be 19. And carrier 1. And that's going to be 2. So it's going to be 2,972. Okay. Let's do another one. So you got 82 plus 2,368 plus 744. Okay. Again, put your numbers largest to bottom, to the smallest. So that's going to be 2,368 plus 744 plus 82. And you put them in a column, so you put them all straight, as best you can in a column. Okay, so that's going to be 14, carrier 1, and that's going to be 19 and carrier 1, and that's going to be 11 and carrier 1, and 3. So 3,194. Okay, real quick on just how to do basic addition. The next kind we're going to do is subtraction. So 1-2 section is going to be subtraction. Again, these are just a review, okay? So subtraction of whole numbers, again, you need to line them up. So if you had something like 47 minus 23, what is that going to be? Well, line them up so you can kind of see what you got. 3 minus 7 is 4. 2 minus 4 is 2, so 24. But what if you have something like this? 64 minus 37. So 64 minus 37. Remember, if it's 4 minus 7, you can't subtract that. You have to borrow. So we're going to borrow 1 over here. 7 minus 14 is 7. 3 minus 5 is 2. Or 5 minus 3 is 2. So that's going to be 27. Circle your answers. Okay? Let's do one more. So what if we have something like 426 minus 128? So 426 minus 128. Again, 6 minus 8, you can't do that. Borrow. That will be 8. Borrow again. 2. It's going to be 9 and 2. So 298. Whoops. 298. Okay. Now, one thing that's very important, more important to me than doing this quick review for Chapter 1 is practical applications, because that's really what you're going to be doing in life, what you're going to be doing in industry. You're going to read a word problem. They're not going to, most of the time, you're not just going to have numbers to subtract unless you're an accountant, okay? But we'll do some word problems in here, but you'll also be doing some word problems in EET 104, okay? So let's do a word problem. Now, the big thing with word problem is when you read the problem, write down what information you need and then work the problem when you figure out what you need to do. Some of the information they'll give you may be unimportant. You may not need that, okay? So you just got to pay attention. So we're going to do a painting problem. So in planning for a job, a painter buys 486 worth of materials. When the job is completed, she returns some unused rollers and brushes for a credit of $27. What is the net amount of her bill? Okay, so she bought $486 worth of materials. So we'll write that down. Now she took back some unused rollers and brushes and got a credit of $27. So let's just write that there, a credit. So when you get a credit, we're going to subtract that from the main bill because she's going to get that money back, and they want to know what the net amount of her bill is. Well, if she took something back, we need to subtract that, okay? So we're going to borrow there, and that's going to be 9. That's going to be 5 and 4. So she's going to, her net amount was $459, okay? Something that's very important for me is show all your work. And really the reason for that is with math problems and so forth, if I don't give you just multiple choice and I actually just show you your work, I'll give you partial credit. Okay? So if you show your work, you get partial credit. If you don't show your work and you get the answer wrong, I can't give you any partial credit. You'll just get that amount. But for example, if it's worth 10 points and you show me your work, you know, I may give you 8 points because you just missed a decimal point. Okay? So make sure you show me your work. The next section, 1-3, is multiplication. Now, I don't care if you use your calculators in here, but hopefully you know how to do some of these without it, okay? So consider this, 34 times 2. So, again, you just line everything up and work the problem out. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6, 68. Okay? Pretty simple. Again, this is just basic math, high school math, okay? But what if you have something like this, 89 times 24? Okay, so you line it up again. Do your multiplication. 9 times 4 is 36. 8 times 4 is 32 plus 3 is 5, 35. 2 times 9 is 18. So you start at the second number, carry your 1. 2 times 8 is 16, 17. So you just keep everything lined up and do your math. And there's your answer, 2,136. Okay? So that's multiplication. Again, I'm only doing a few of these because hopefully it's just a review for you. If you need any more help, just let me know and we'll work some more problems, okay? So for division, you're going to see it a couple of different ways. You could see it like this, 12 divided by 3. You could see 3 into 12, or you could see 12 thirds like we see in fractions, okay? For this, you may see, let's go over this real quick, equals 4. The 4 is your quotient, or your answer, okay? 3 is your divisor, and 12 is your dividend, what you're dividing into, okay? So that's kind of how that goes. So what if you had something like 96 divided by 8? So you set that up like this, 8 divided by 96. 8 will go into 9 one times. 1 times 8 is 8. So you have 1 left. You bring 6 down. 8 divided by 16 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. And you have 0. So you have a remainder of 0. Okay? So the answer to that one is 12. But what if you have a remainder? Let's look at another one. What if you have 42 divided by 9,465? Again, you just keep everything lined up. 42 won't go into 9, but 42 will go into 94 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So you got 10 left there. You bring down the 6, so it's 106. 42 and 106 will probably go 2 more times. 2 will go into 2, 8. 2 will go into 4. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 4, not 8. 2 will go into 2 times 4 is 8. That's 84. 106 minus 84. That's going to be 22. Bring down to 5. 225. That'll go into it about 5 times. You kind of have to guess there. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry your 1. 5 times 4 is 21. So you have 15 left. You don't have anything else, so it's 225 with the remainder of 15. So that's how you do with the remainder, okay? So hopefully that was a little reminder on longhand division. Again, you'll have your calculator, but if I tell you to work any by hand, this is the way you do it, okay? The next part is probably the ones that you really need some refresher about. It's factors and primes. Factors and primes. This is 1-4, I believe, okay? So, factors. So, what's a factor? That's just a product of other numbers, okay? So, if you have 6, how do you find 6? 6 is 2 times 3, right? Or it could be 1 times 6 will also give you 6. So, 2 and 3 are factors of 6, Also, 1 and 6 are factors of 6. Okay, kind of see how that is? What about 12? What are factors of 12? Well, we know that 1 and 12 are factors of 12, right? So we know 1. We know 2 times 6 is 12, so 2 and 6. We know 3 times 4 is 12, so 3 and 4. We said 6 and 12. So those are all factors of 12. And again, same thing with 30. We know that 1 times 30 is 30. We know 2 times 15 is 30. So it would be 2 and 15. We know 3 times 10 is 30. So that would be 1. We know 5 times 2 is 30. So 5 would be 1. 6 times 5 is 30. So 6 would be 1. We already said 10 was 1 and 15 and 30. So those are all factors of 30. So what numbers can multiply to get 30? Or what numbers can multiply to be 12? Those are factors, okay? So what is a prime then? Okay, so what is a prime? For some numbers, the only factors are 1 and the number itself. Kind of like 1 and 6, that could be a factor, right? But like 1 and 7. 1 and 7 is 7. That's the only thing that you can get 7. You can't say 2 times 3 is 7, right? So 1 and 7 would be. So there are no other numbers that divide by 7 with the remainder of 0. And these numbers are called prime numbers. A prime number is one for which there is no factors other than 1 and prime itself. So here's 15 prime numbers, for example. So 2, so 1 times 2 is 2, right? But nothing else can equal 2. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, and on, okay? Those are all prime numbers. They can only be 1 times itself to equal that number. The prime factors, so what is a prime factor? That's a number of those factors that are prime numbers. For example, the prime factors of 6 are 2 and 3. The prime factors of 30 are 2, 3, and 5. So what would we do to figure that out? We need to use something called a factor tree. Okay, a factor tree. So first you write the number. Let's look at the number 132. Then you put 2 branches out here. Now you start with the smallest prime in the list. So the smallest prime number is 2. We said that with the first 15 primes. Let's go back. So the 15 primes here, the smallest prime number is 2. So let's start with 2. Now sometimes you can't, 2 might not work, but in this case it will. So 2. So what times 2 will give you 132? 66. Okay? So 2 can't go any further, but 66 can. So the smallest number that'll go into 66 is 2. 2 will go into 66 33 times. Okay? So again, 2 can't do anything, but 33 can. Because 3 times 11 is 33. Now, will 2 go into 33? No, not with the 0. It'll have a remainder. Will 3 go into 33? Yes. 3 will go into 33 11 times. Will 11 go into anything? No. That's as far as it goes. So these numbers that are at the end of the factor tree are your prime numbers. So 2, 2, 3, and 11. Okay? And even though you have 2 there twice, that you still have to list those, okay? And on the test, you'll have to list those. So let's look at an easier one. What if we had like 15? What will go into 15? 2 won't go into 15. There'll be a remainder. 3 will go into 15 5 times. And that's the prime numbers. You can't go any further. So 3 and 5 are the prime numbers of 15. What about 21? 2 won't go into 21, but 3 will. 3 into 21 is 7, but 3 and 7 are prime numbers. So those are the 2 primes. Let's try one a little bit harder. What about 350? Will 2 go into 350? Yes. 175 times. So let's do 175. 2 won't go into 175, and you just have to go in and multiply and see if you have a remainder. But 5 will. 5 will go into 175 times 35. Okay? And then 5 is a prime, so you can't go any further. What about 35? 2 won't go into 35. 3 won't go into 35. But 5 will. 5 will go into 35 7 times. And then 7's a prime number. So we have 2, 5, 5, and 7. 2, 5, 5, and 7. Those are your prime numbers. Okay? And again, you'll have to do these on homework, and you'll have one of these on the test. Now, the way I'll do the test is right before a test, like for example, chapters 1, 2, and 3. Let's say we're going to test on that. I'll give you a review test sheet, and that test sheet will be turned back in for points. And the test review sheet will be really similar to the test. So if you can do that test review sheet and these homework problems, that's the way the test is going to be, okay? All right, the last section we're going to do is order of operations, PEMDA. PEMDAS, okay? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now remember, Rule 1, any parentheses first. Rule 2, multiplication and division next from left to right. And add and subtract from left to right, okay? So let's do a couple of examples. What if we had 3 times 4 plus 2? Well, we said multiplication, division, left to right, and then add, subtract. So first we're going to have to do multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12, and then 12 plus 2. 12 plus 2 is 14. Okay? Example 2. What if we had this? 26 minus 14 times 2. Well, we said multiplication first, but we also said parentheses first. So even though this is subtract, it's parentheses, so we got to do it first. So 26 minus 14 is 12, and then 12 times 2 is 24. Okay? Example 3. All right, what if we had this? 12 times 6 plus 2 divided by 6 minus 7. Again, we got to do parentheses first, so we're going to do this first. So it's going to be 12 times 6 plus 2 is 8 divided by 6 minus 7. Again, it's from left to right. From left to right. So 12 times 8 is 96 divided by 6 minus 7. So 96 divided by 6 is 16 minus 7. And 16 minus 7 is 9. Okay? So that's how you do that. All right. So you'll have some to practice with. Your homework is going to be on pages 62 and 63. The A section is 1 through 21. The B section is 1 through 42. The C section is 1 through 6. And on D, I want you to do number 1 and number 3. So that's your homework. It'll be due Tuesday by midnight. And I will also put this on Blackboard. And be watching for chapter 2. I'll have it posted pretty quick too, okay? Once we get out of the first few chapters, we'll start slowing down a little bit, and I'll do sections of videos. But this was pretty easy, just a review, and wanted to get through this, okay? So if you have any questions, please come see me. You can email me, make an appointment, whatever you need. If you don't know how to turn this homework in, you don't have to type it up or anything like that. Just scan it, or you can drop it by the office, okay? Thank you, guys. Have a good night.